These are actually veneers. These are stamped veneers. They're very thin. These are mokumegane veneers. This is probably what a veneer would look like with a real fancy amount of layering. These are shapelets. This is a heart shapelet. But literally you can use any kind of shape. And this one has 3 layers. This one has actually 3 layers as well. So let's just take a look at some really fun ways that we can use veneers to create a piece. So first of all, let me pull this aside and get my tile in place. I always like working on tiles. And I've already prepared all the clay that I'm going to use today. I've got a piece of black clay here, and I've conditioned it. It's very flexible. It's about, I don't know, it's not the thickest setting on a pasta machine, but close to it. And every pasta machine is a little bit different in terms of how thick or thin a setting is. And see, this piece of black is much thinner. So if I prepare a few of these in advance, I'll have them ready when I want to create. So let's take my veneer here. Let's just use this one. It's kind of a pretty modern design. And the first thing I might want to do is say, okay, do I want just a plain background, or do I want like a little edge around this background and then a black background ultimately? Those are design decisions. There's no right, no wrong. These are personal preferences that you and you alone make. But we'll sort of go with the format that I already have here. Now this has been baked, and it's actually been baked a long time ago. So it's been in my savings here for a long time. If this is baked and I'm going to add it to raw clay, I need to actually put some kind of a insurance that the 2 pieces are going to stick. And that would be liquid polymer. So let me just put a little bit of liquid polymer on the back. And this is liquid Sculpey. I actually use Primo a lot. And this liquid here is actually very fresh. Sometimes when the liquid clay sets up, it's a little bit stiff, but this one's real fresh. And see how I'm not putting on very much, just enough to make it tacky. Because if I put too much on, then my piece might slide. Okay, I'm gonna go like this. Now, this piece here is a marbled color. I don't always do that. I have design decisions. I could use a solid piece of color, or I could use something that has a little bit of a swirl in it. Whatever you think is interesting. Actually, the other thing that I could do is put a little bit of a texture in there as well. And that would be easy. I'll just put one of my rubber stamps down here and press that in. Now I'm going to have liquid on my rubber stamp, but that's all right. Not deep enough. I like to peek. And I don't use the roller here. I'm just pushing this down so that it has an impression here. There we go. That's enough of a texture, just to give it a little bit of interest here. So I've already put the liquid on there. Again, I don't need a whole bunch. It's just really to make it more tacky, so that the pieces have some bonding agent. Sometimes they call it liquid bakeable clay by Sculpey. Okay, so now I have this border here, and I can literally make a large border. This is a polymer clay blade. It's very sharp, so you want to make sure that you are pressing down with not your fingers underneath it. And this is another reason why I like to use the tile. Now, I'm not sure if that's even. Chances that you are going to get the whole thing exactly even are not high. And this is actually a kind of stiff blade. You can use a more flexible blade if you wish, but you just keep going in until you find that you have a shape or an outline or a frame that you like. So this is kind of cool. That sort of mimics what I've got going on there. Okay, so now I'm going to lift this up without changing the shape, which means I'm just going to very lightly pull it up with my blade, scraping along the tile. Now, this is kind of a design decision. How thick do I want this? And basically, I think I need to have it fairly thick. Okay, so that it's nice and strong. All right, so then now I can make this other layer, border that. And then I have a frame within a frame, as we say. Now I know that's not square, but I could continue on to make little adjustments until it gives me a visual balance. And then literally, this is done. The two bottom layers were not baked, so I didn't have to put any liquid in between them. But the top layer, which is baked, I always need to put some liquid on just so that it for sure has a good bond. And then the last thing I'll do here is just put the texture on the back. I like these stamps that don't have a direction in their texture, so that any way that you actually press it, it'll be desirable there. And you can put a signature stamp on the back. You can actually put a pin back on this. You can embed different hanging devices or build some bales. But literally, this is ready to go into the oven. And that's how polymer clay cures, is in an oven. If you get these a little bit out of alignment, you can always move them with your blade. The blade is an excellent tool for adjusting things. My fingers are not as accurate as the blade. So this is one veneer. So I still have a few more pieces here. Let's do this one. Now, if this is not the shape that I want it to be, let's get this out of the way there, I can actually cut it. And that's another cool thing about the veneers, is that you can make them in sheets, and if they're thin enough, you can cut them to the shape that you would like. And this here, I think I'm going to make a pendant out of. So I'm just going to put a plain black piece. Now, I noticed that there's some translucent in there. If I was going to put the translucent right onto the black, you might be able to see through it. Might not be as pretty, but it does have a white background, so that's not 100% translucent. And that was very thin for me. So I think I'm going to just double that up. And again, because don't want any air bubbles there, whoops. And then again, because I'll put that air bubble out right there, okay. I'll measure it to make sure I've got enough space. Yep, that looks okay. So I'm going to put the liquid on the back and just spread it around. You don't want too much or it'll slide, but just enough here. And I will be able to make this veneer into a thicker piece. So this time, I'm not actually going to create a border. I'm just going to go down and bear down along the edge. And I can actually sand these edges when all this is coming out of the oven and make those edges really nice and even. But for the time being, all I'm really looking for is to make this piece thicker. Because maybe I'll put a bail on that and do something else. But now it's thick enough that it could actually be used as a pin or a pendant instead of just a veneer. So I hope that that was interesting. Here's a few more veneers. These are transfer veneers. Here's some more transfer veneers. This is a lot of fun when you experiment with stamps and transfers and different types of textures. You can play all you like, and you can add another layer onto your veneer to make a finished piece, a pendant, a pin, whatever you desire. So thanks for joining me today. I'm Barbara McGuire, and hope to see you again.